Precons are an interesting topic within the Commander space. While they've certainly outgrown their original intended design of being a more entry-level product, they're arguably more popular and certainly more powerful than ever. I mean, the people just go wild for these things. I think it's the combination of a Commander mini set being dropped every time they get released and the ease of a pre-prepared play object that makes people understandably excited. As someone that doesn't interact with Precons all that much outside of buying new singles that look sweet, when a viewer suggested I do a Precon upgrade video for the new Modern Horizons 3 Commander decks, I thought it'd both be a fun opportunity to explore a space I don't look at that often and a good test of my brewing abilities. So the people of Hungry on Plane voted for which deck they wanted me to upgrade, but no one specified exactly how I should go about it. So to make things interesting, I've decided to upgrade this deck with only $10. I love me a bit of budget brewing, and I think you'll be surprised just how much we can transform this deck without splashing much cash. I hope you like Thunderstorms, because it's time to upgrade Creative Energy. Outside of my upgrade budget, there's not a lot of rules here. Just upgrade a pre-constructed deck in any way I see fit, as long as we stay under budget. As with most of the decks on the channel, we're going to be exploring as many cards as we can, especially since our $10 limit means we'll need to uncover some real gems to fit within the constraint. For pricing, I'll be using the TCG Player market price as pulled through Scryfall at the time of recording. I'll be using the cheapest printing of the card whenever possible. Realistically, you can use whatever pricing guide or rules you want, I just needed to pick something to keep it consistent. Note that depending on when you watch this video, where you get your cards from, and probably where you are in the world, the exact cost of the cards you'll need to upgrade this is going to be subject to change. Let's get going. Now, there are two possible commanders for this deck, and I'll tell you right now that I'm sticking with the Face Commander. That attack trigger is just too fun to pass up on. Also, he looks a bit like Smee from the movie Hook, but if they gave him an energy cannon, and I can't get away from that. Satya, Aetherflux Genius, is a wordy 4-mana 3/5 that lets you copy non-token creatures you control when he attacks. Like many red copy effects, the token will go away at the end step unless you pay energy equal to that creature's mana value, which he gives you a bit of on attack as well. Satya also rewards you for making big piles of energy, and as someone that never got to play Kaladesh Standard, I'm really in the mood to do that. Like most of the precons going around these days, you get quite a lot for your initial investment. This deck's framework honestly is pretty good. You've got about 10 spells that I classify as draw, 4 good sweepers for some reason, a smattering of 3 removal spells but pretty good ones, and somehow 13 ramp sources. This is a real solid foundation to start off with. That being said, the mana base is like many precons a little sussy, so we'll be tuning that up a bit as well. Yes, even on a $10 budget, you can afford to smooth out your mana base. First of all, let's talk about what we're taking out and where we need to improve. In the ramp section, we're going to pare down to a more slim 10 total sources, cutting Coalition Relic, Midnight Clock, and Burnished Heart. These are slightly clunkier sources, and every 2 mana rock does a ton of work ramping neatly into our commander, so we don't really want to cut any of them. Notably, Solemn Simulacrum is a little more top heavy, but it is worth keeping due to the synergy with our commander. For sweepers, we absolutely don't need 4. You could run 3, but I'm going to go all the way down to just a pair of these effects. Aether Squall Ancient is the easy cut for me, as it's just a bit too clunky, while I'm really keen to keep the new sweeper, Localized Destruction. Between Austere Command and Farewell, you could go either way, but I ended up keeping the command in. You could swap this around at your leisure though, or even find a cut for the 3rd sweeper if you feel like you need it. On the other hand, the draw and removal sections are going to need a little bit more of a significant overhaul. While there are 10 total draw sources, a lot of these are a bit clunky or conditional. I do like Bident of Thassa, Glimmer of Genius, and Tezzeret's Gambit as they're super solid pieces that fit our deck's themes. Similarly, while Era of Innovation, Izzet Generatorium, and Royal Cartographer do require a bit more investment to get a decent return, they're also energy generators and are a good enough balance to our current draw staples. Sphinx of the Revelation is pretty cute and also a big energy payoff, and it also generates some energy, so with the idea to maximize the fun factor, I'll have to keep this one in as well. Unstable Amulet is a really interesting card that I'm a little on the fence about, but after going over it a few times, I lean towards keeping it in. But this is a card I could see getting replaced after more reps with the deck. So, what about cuts? Coveted Jewel is a bit too clunky for my taste, and also just kind of a volatile card in general. You can do fun and powerful things with it, but I don't think our deck wants to be playing with this kind of effect. Bespoke Battle Wagon is also on the clunkier side, even though it's a good energy generator and a decent draw source. Ultimately, I think you want this in a deck with more untapped support, and that's not the direction I'm thinking for this deck. That leaves us with 4 slots to fill, starting with a blue staple, Charter Course. This is a bargain blue sorcery in any deck, especially ones that want to be attacking. Our commander happens to have the words when attacks on him, so the math checks out. Dr. Madison Lee is coming in from the Fallout set, as she gives us both energy generation and a nice repeatable draw effect, among other things. We'll round out this section with Rush of Inspiration and Wheel of Potential for some newer, splashier, energy adjacent draw effects. Also, I can't resist a good MDFC. Overall, the updated draw package feels a little bit energy reliant at times, but overall it's pretty smooth and cost efficient. Some of the splashy effects especially will be a hoot to try and supercharge with excess energy reserves. For removal, we have a lot of work to do, considering we're currently missing about 9 total sources. Thankfully, we're starting out strong with what's already in the deck with Swords to Plowshares, Skyclave Apparition, and new edition Blaster Hulk. Thankfully, Modern Horizons 3 added a bunch of exciting Energy Matters removal effects for us to play, and we'll be taking full advantage. Static Prison and Galvanic Discharge are both cheap MH3 cards worth adding for this archetype. Prison especially is absurdly mana efficient for giving you what's effectively an Oblivion Ring. I also slotted in some energy oldies with Harness Lightning from Kaladesh and a newer utility land in Helios 1 from the Fallout set, which also doubles as an energy generator. As an aside, there have been a host of sweet new energy cards released lately, so really scour Scryfall when you're looking for new additions to this deck. Continuing with removal, we have some classics of the genre in Abrade and Wear Tear. We're also going to promote the existing Confiscation Coup to a removal spell, as it will act a lot like one in most situations, even if it's a bit higher on the mana curve. Finishing things off, we're going with a little throwback with Turnburn and Avensa Shaper Savant, because every blue mage needs a good bounce spell, and this one we can copy with Satya. We're a little under $4 now with our framework setup, but we've still got plenty of work to do, including answering a really important question. What do we want our deck to do? Well, turns out it's kind of written on the cards. As I pointed out earlier, our commander has the word attack printed on it, and it wants you to copy your creatures to do cool things. Turns out they managed to sneak an infinite combo into this deck that also asks you to attack, and even though I don't often approve of infinites, this one is both pretty expensive, easy to break up, and very telegraphed. Turns out if you have Satya in play and a casual 11 mana, you can slam down Aethertide Whale and Lightning Runner and take infinite combat. Here's how it works. Satya copies the whale for 6 energy, and then both Satya and Lightning Runner attacking will give you at least 2 more energy, bringing us to a total of 8. You can then pay the 8 energy for the Lightning Runner trigger to untap your creatures and get an extra combat. Assuming all 3 of your non-token creatures never perish while this is happening, you'll get enough energy every extra combat to keep paying for the Lightning Runner's trigger until the end of time. Even if you can't get off this very convoluted combo, Lightning Runner is still a great way to dump a ton of extra energy when you're trying to finish off a game, and for me, this is the card that I'm most excited to build around. If infinites aren't your thing, feel free to replace these cards, but like I said, it's a pretty fragile house of cards you have to assemble here. So what else do we want? Well, generally our plan is to generate energy and then find payoffs, with our commander helping us along the way by copying key creatures. Generally, if a creature generates more energy than its mana cost, I'm likely interested in it. We're also going to need some payoffs for stockpiling all this power, so keep that in mind as well. Before that though, we'll need to make some space. It's time to cut cards once more. Grenzo Havoc Razor, Overclocked Electromancer, Razorfield Ripper, Akroma's Will, Angel of Invention, Silver Quill Lecturer, Stone Idol Generator, and Brutaclad Telco Engineer are all heading out. Also, we're going to cut the deck's alternate commander, Kaith Famed Mechanist. To beef up the energy generation, we've got a number of cards coming in, and they're nice and light on the wallet as well. Minister of Inquiries, Riddlegate Gargoyle, Brotherhood Scribe, and Janjeet Sentry all add energy at fairly efficient rates, as well as having some other minorly handy effects. Automated Assembly Line is a leaner version of the energy generation effect we took out of the deck in Stone Idol Generator, and Electro Siphon is a nice on-theme counterspell that might be able to generate a big boost of power out of nowhere from time to time. Mostly though, it just fits the theme. Also, it's fun. I like fun. Toymaker lets us do some silly things in the copy department by making some additional objects creatures that weren't intended to be. This does mean I also added the channel's unofficial mascot Liquid Metal token to the deck to help out our little robot, so I had to cut the Wayfarer's bauble. If you ever get the opportunity, try having Satya make a copy of Legion Loyalty. Finally, Aether Revolt is a pretty powerful enchantment that we can feed energy passively into as a way to try and close out games and get payoff for all the energy we're generating, especially if we can trigger Revolt beforehand. And with that, our non-lands are done, adding quite a bit of cohesion and strength for only about $5. Thankfully, we can put that cash to good use because this mana base needs a bit of an upgrade too. Like I said, the Precon mana bases are a little sus, and I don't think we're going to be bringing ourselves out of the realm of tap lands anytime soon. That being said, I do think if we have to play things like the Reveal lands, we can give ourselves a better chance of those being untapped by playing the common dual land cycle over things like the temples, even if we don't have access to fetch land. So 2 basics, 3 temples, and a bounce land are heading out in favor of all 6 uncolored dual lands from Kaldheim and Dominaria United. It's about $2 for all of those, so let's see what other mana massaging we can do here. We can certainly cut Castle Vantress for a land with a similar condition but much more in line with our deck's needs in Archway of Innovation, and we also do need a bit of extra graveyard hate, so Scavenger Grounds seems appropriate here. Pit of Offerings is also an option, but I think we're pretty full on tap lands at this point. To complement our baby dual lands, we actually have just enough room in the budget thanks to recent reprints to run the trio of check lands in Sulphur Falls, Clifftop Retreat, and Glacial Fortress. And finally, this deck, despite being a precon, somehow did not come with an exotic orchard, which is basically illegal in every commander deck that's at least 2 colors. So that's going in to round us out. And what we're left with is a pile of precon that looks undeniably fun. I'll be honest, in the process of making this video, I actually got so hype about this build that I actually bought the precon for real. It's proactive, it has a really silly game plan, but it also has a lot of power in it, and you kind of just get to chill and build up energy like Goku charging up for 4 Dragon Ball Z episodes. I know precons are already pretty powerful these days, but I was shocked just how much I could do with only $10 to not only smooth out the deck and add some of the framework that it was missing, but actually gut full chunks of it and come out at the end with an exciting, energy-focused fun time. That's it for this video. Let me know if you'd like to see more precon upgrade videos in the future. I can at least safely assure you that you won't have to ask when the Bloomburrow decks get released. As someone that is often brewing from scratch on this channel, it was a really nice change of pace to actually have a full deck to tinker with from the beginning. And I'm still impressed how much we managed to squeeze out of our cash to reimagine this precon. As always, may your wildest brews come true. See ya!